Hello there, it's Allison Vanderslice, and today we're going to be making a set of cards using fire truck wrapping paper that we received in a gift last year. Here's what that wrapping paper looks like and some of the supplies that we're going to be using. To make the card bases, I'm going to be taking a 12 by 12 piece of scrapbook paper. This first piece I'm going to cut at 5.5. And then with that leftover piece, I'm going to cut that one at 4.25, so that way we get two different styles of card bases. Taking the piece that we cut at 4.25 inches, we're going to cut that down to 11 inches. And then our piece that we cut at 5.5 inches, we're going to cut that down to 8.5 inches. Now we're going to go and score those pieces. We're then going to score our card bases so we can fold them in half to make cards. This is the one that we have at 8.5 inches, and I'm going to score at 4.25. I'm then going to take our next piece and score this one at 5.5 inches along the 11-inch side. Now we're going to crease our folds. We're going to fold it over and then do a nice crisp fold with our bone folder. Now here's when I realized that I should have used the thicker end on the score tool, so that way we didn't get those jagged edges when we folded the paper. Here's our fire truck wrapping paper. You can use any wrapping paper that you would like. I'm just using this because I really enjoyed the pattern of it, and my older brother is a volunteer firefighter, so I thought it would be fun to send this to him. I went through and decided which fire truck fit better in the gift tag die cut. I'm going to put it down with some washi tape. Now I'm taking the Lattice oval layered die cut set that I have, and I'm going to put all three of those on top of this other fire truck. We're actually going to stack this later with some fun foam. Here's what the pieces look like after I ran them through the die cut machine. I'm going to take the Lattice ovals and flip them over and put a piece of washi tape to hold them together on the back side for when I remove the die cuts. This way it kind of keeps the same pattern and it's easier for me in the future. Now I'm going to take an adhesive foam sheet that I found from Walmart, and I'm going to cut out the different Lattice oval pieces that I'll need to bump up this fire truck for the card front. And I'm making sure that it cut through, since this is thicker than what I'm used to. This is actually the first time I'm using the fun foam. I'm going to take those die cut pieces out. And then I'm going to actually take out the biggest die cut, so that way the next piece will only have the inner two pieces. This way when we put it up, we're going to add a little bit more dimension by making one piece have 3 layers and then the outermost piece have only 1 layer of fun foam. You'll see what I mean after everything's finished. Here's what the two Lattice ovals look like through the fun foam. Again, checking to make sure that it cut all the way through. I'm going to take off the outer layer again, and now I'm just left with the middlemost layer, and we'll run that again through the die cut machine. Now we're going to take the largest Lattice piece and put liquid glue down on the top of it so we can adhere the large Lattice piece of wrapping paper on top. Remember, this is just a single layer. I'm going to just put dots of glue all the way around and then take the largest piece and put it down on top and press it down. After that, I'm going to put it underneath something heavy so that way I know that it stays adhered. Now we're going to move on to that middle Lattice piece. I'm going to remove one of the backings so that way the adhesive is showing, and then we're going to layer it on top of the other one. After we get them nice and situated, we're going to go with the wrapping paper piece. And this time we're going to add liquid glue onto the wrapping paper side just to see how it works. Either way is fine. It's whatever your liking is. And then we're just going to situate that on top of the two foam pieces. I'll press it down and then I'm going to put it underneath something heavy. We're going to do that same process with the 3 layers of fun foam for the middle piece and then the wrapping paper, and here's what that looks like after it's finished. Moving on to that gift tag that we cut, I thought it looked pretty plain on the paper, so I'm going to go through and take the gift tag that we originally used and then the one that layers right inside of it to make a little frame for our gift tag. I'll secure it with the washi tape, and then I'm going to cut this piece a little bit smaller so that way I can fit it through my die cutting machine. Here's what the frame looks like. It also creates another smaller tag for the middle, and we're going to hold on to that and use it a little bit later when we are putting the cards together. See how much that little frame adds to the card front over top of the fire truck gift tag? I'm going to adhere it with liquid glue, so put that on the back of the frame and then place that on top of the fire truck gift tag. Since we made it a gift tag, I thought it would only be fitting if we added some thread or ribbon to it. I'm going to be taking a light blue, grayish color, a green, and a red, and I'm going to wrap it around the whole card front. You see this little hole here? I thought I was going to thread the string through, but yeah, didn't work out as planned, so we're going to talk about how we're going to cover that up in a little bit. Now I'm just going through and cutting all my thread to the length that I want it. In my previous videos, I did this where I take my tape roller and I'm just going to put down a little bit on either side of the card base where I want the thread to sit. We're going to adhere it down on one side and then wrap it around and then adhere to the other side. And as you can see, I still have a lot left over because what I originally was planning on doing didn't pan out. So I'm going to actually cut that excess off and save it for a little bit later. Now we're going to cover up the adhesive and extra thread. I took that pattern paper from earlier and cut it down to be 4 inches by 5¼ inches, and we're just going to adhere it onto that card front. And here's what that looks like. It's also nice because it adds a little bit of character to the inside of the card. Using that leftover thread that we had from earlier, I'm actually going to tie it into a bow so you can see that process now. I did it in my other video with one piece of thread, and I do think it's easier when you have multiple pieces, so I'm going to have to keep that in mind for the future. I'm going to hold the knot in the middle and then just pull the extra string and then the loops to tighten it and make the bow look really nice and pretty. I put a couple of the foam squares on the back and I'm going to remove their backings and then put that down onto the card front. Going back to the thread bow that we made, I'm going to trim up those long pieces so that way it just tidies up the card front and makes it a little bit cuter. We're going to take our liquid glue and adhere down the bow. And here's what that card front and inside looks like. I really liked the way how this one turned out. Now, because the inside of the card is dark, I'm actually going to take that small tag piece that we had left over from earlier and put it in the middle so that way we can write our little wishes and sign our names. Now that our lattice pieces have dried, we're going to go through and just see what it looks like onto our card front. I thought that it looked a little bare, so I wanted to add some of that dark green scrapbook paper that we used, and then a thin strip of vellum. And here's what that looked like. We're going to take the piece of scrapbook paper and put some of the tape roller on either end of that lengthwise. And then I'm going to take the vellum and put one side down on the tape, fold it over the front, make sure it is in the right placement, and then adhere it down to the other side. After I like that, I'm going to put adhesive all on the back of the scrapbook paper and then adhere that to our card front. Now we'll take our focal image of the fire truck. Remember, this was a foam adhesive, so there is a little backing paper on the back of it to show where the adhesive is. I'm just going to go through and try to make it as flat as I can, and just to make sure that it's extra secure, since this is the first time I'm using this foam adhesive, I am going to put some liquid glue on the back. And this also gives me some wiggle room as well. And I'm just going to flip it over and place that down on the front of the card and add some pressure. And here's this one close up. I really liked using the dimension of the foam on this one, and I'm going to try to use it in future projects. Because the inside is a darker color, I'm just going through my stash and I found a piece that was already cut down to 4 inches by 5 1/4, and I'm actually just going to stick this down into our card base. This way we have our space to write our message and sign our name. And here's what both of the cards look like together. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and if you enjoyed watching this content, make sure you subscribe for more. Thanks for watching again, and I'll see you next time.